Hey there, mini review time. This is the Mora Companion Spark. Mora Companion Spark is a fire knife in that it has a fire steel in the handle. Clips in, little friction fit and twist, and then it has a 90-degree spine, which is unlike the usual companions. Mora have done this before. The fire knife, a combination with Light My Fire fire steels about 10 years ago, was a great little knife. So I wanted to get footage from my old video, and it turns out that it was one of my earlier films where I thought it was a good idea to review a knife with my face up here. And 2012 Pete had 2 newborn children and wasn't getting a lot of exercise, so it's a big old face. So anyway, you just enjoy this. I thought I'd point it out before everyone else does. But a much more light use blade. It had a 2.5mm blade. This is a 3mm thick blade. And it had a more sort of scalloped compound grind at the front, making it feel more like almost a food prep knife with an inbuilt fire starter. This is much more of a normal Mora Companion. So the Mora Companion is sort of their most, I'd say, best-selling and most all-round knife, and a great bang for the buck, always has been. The usual Mora Companion does not have the 90-degree spine, although it's often something that the end users tend to put on it, and the tang is going to be a little bit longer in a Companion in the handle, so they've given up some tang space to fit in this fire steel here. It is just a stick tang, so it probably does still go a little bit past it, I would guess, but yeah, about halfway or a little bit more down the handle is where the tang is going to go in this fire knife. This isn't a knife for taking out and doing hugely rugged survival tasks with. Let me show you next to some other knives. We'll start with the SRK. So that's a proper survival knife. Everyone knows that's a big, burly, thick knife. And perhaps the SE4 as well. We'll show you next to that guy too. And then the Buck 119. I think those are 3 knives that we all sort of can imagine the dimensions of. I mean, we all mostly know how big a Mora Companion is anyway, but you see the spines next to each other, much, much thinner. So while you can force it into some heavier use, it's really not for that. But again, that being said, the Companion is a much stronger blade than it seems like it should be. And even this guy here, with its perhaps more fragile interior, I can batten this through some nasty-ish, heavy, dense hardwood, and it lives to tell a tale, no worries. So this guy is a Scandinavian grind, and it's a full 0 ground Scandinavian, so it might be a little bit more fragile if you misuse it on purpose or accidentally. A rock will flatten this edge out and make it a little bit more of a full resharpen required than if it just had a simple micro bevel like, say, the Garberg does. So the 0 Scandi means it's going to really glide through wood. So this is going to be a feather sticking dream. I'm not very good at any of that stuff, but I find it really easy to make feather sticks with a Scandi grind like this, especially on a thin blade like the Companion has. That being said, against other things, it's not going to be as great. It's a real wedge shape, so the apex is really easy to follow and trail with your eyeball, so it makes it really easy to shave things with it. But when you're trying to slice things and cut things in half, the wedge shape does sort of betray you, but making for more sort of ragged, burst apart cuts. Let's do a nice little potato montage with this against a simple flat grind like on a Spyderco Stretch 2, and you see the fire knife bust those potatoes apart, whereas the flat grind just kind of saunters through them, So that's the sort of differences you get with different grinds and whatnot. But for a wood crafting grind, the Scandinavian is ideal. It's almost perfect, and it's really user-friendly. That being said, I don't know if this is a surprise to you or not, I've never particularly said I was a great sharper, but I'm really bad at sharpening Scandi grinds. Really bad. I always bugger them up because you're supposed to just use a flat stone, and I just am not very good at it. I always end up semi-convexing them or whatever. It's not the end of the world, but that being said, it's something that generally steers me more towards the carbon steel Moras because they're a little bit more forgiving and the edge seems to last just a little bit longer. That being said, this is a stainless. So it was the only one I could find. I'm not sure if they do a carbon of this, but the stainless one, for my purposes, is going to be just fine. Look, this is largely just going to be a fireplace knife. I'm probably just going to put this up on my mantle and use it to slice fat wood up. So wood that's going to take a spark amazingly. Again, not a great bushcrafter. I can make the feather sticks, but then for me to get a fire going amongst the feather stick, I generally need a little bit of assisting tinder. So some dry lint, for example, is my go-to. So that's generally how I'm rolling with my bushcraft skills or lack thereof. But if you have some bushcraft skills, this might literally be all you need. It's a great knife for an ultralight backpacker, someone who's sort of packing with everything they're going to need on their back. You get a lot in your both space and in your weight, as in like a full fire steel. You know, that's not even just like a chintzy baby one. It's actually quite thick and has probably several thousand strikes on it. A lot of the more miniature fire steels, you end up wearing through them and they can often snap in half. So you get a pretty decent fire steel that, while short, is thick, and you get really a lot of very reliable, very time-tested, proven knife for your size, weight, and money. $50 I paid for the Spark. Great deal in Australia for a Swedish-made, high-quality product. Is there a more time-tested fixed-blade knife than the Companion? Most likely not. So, look, if you didn't know this existed, like I didn't know it existed, now you do. Take whatever steps you feel like you need to take there, friend, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.